I sleep with the beasts. You woke me down in the streets.
Hello! Is this working?
You pull my leash.
Hello YouTube! Welcome again to my channel. Thank you for being here. If you're here, it's probably because you already saw the first video or you're my mom. Hi mom. Trey. You saw the title of this video, and moving away from your parents or moving abroad is something that either you've thought about or thinking about, or you actually have already planned and have a specific date for, which is great. Congratulations on that. Let's get this started. I'm gonna give you 3 life-changing information that would have saved my life and that I really wish I knew before I decided to move away from my mom's house. Let's get started. I'm gonna try to give them in order of importance. So the third one's gonna be the most life or death one, if I want to be dramatic. It's really life or death, so stay hooked. So the first thing I'm gonna speak about in this video is long distance relationships. And yeah, it's a very complicated subject, but the relationships I'm gonna speak about in this case are specifically friends and family. Because I was not in a romantic relationship in the moment I left Colombia, so I do not have that experience. But I do have the experience that came with moving abroad far away from my friends and family. And what I wish I knew was that friendships are really hard to maintain when you're away. I was always the type of person that thought that everything would stay the same because when you have a connection with someone, that will never leave, and etc. etc. But the reality is that when you move abroad and you're living a completely different life than the one that your peers are living in your home country, the things you speak about become less and less common. The type of difficulties you face in life when you're working to pay rent in little jobs, rather than your friends who are struggling to get permission to go to a party on a Saturday from their parents. It's 2 different struggles, it's two different worlds. And I'm not saying that one is more stressful or less stressful than the other one. We all have our own worries, but it's really hard to stay connected to someone when your life has changed so much and you don't have that many things in common anymore. This is not a definite. There's always friendships that are stronger than that. There's always these certain people who, no matter where you are, what type of life you're living, are always gonna stay in your life. But the truth is that most of your friendships are gonna change. Doesn't mean you're gonna lose them all, but they're gonna change. The way you communicate is gonna change because some people are not as good with phones. Some people do not like to text. Some people do not like to speak through phone calls. So you're gonna have the feeling that you're speaking to someone you don't know. That's when it comes to friendships. When it comes to family relationships, it's even more complicated, I think. The good thing about family is that no matter what you do, they'll still be there in most cases. I did not know how hard it would be to not be able to visit my grandparents when I want to not be able to hug my mom when I want to, and just not being able to do these things that you took for granted at some point of your life. So what I'm gonna tell you now, and this is gonna jump to the third advice, I'm just gonna give you a sneak peek on the third, is technology is gonna be your best friend. Sorry to say that, I know technology has a lot of negative sides and technology makes people addicted and all the bad things that come with technology, but there's also an amazing side of technology, and it's the fact that you can connect with people through FaceTime and through all the other elements. I honestly tell you that I think I would have been able to leave my country and my mom if I did not have FaceTime and all these tools. So, to resume it all, my first advice is train your grandparents in the use of Skype or FaceTime. That's what I kind of did, and it has helped me a lot. I didn't do it well enough. That's why I'm putting it here in the things I wish I knew. I didn't do it well enough because my grandparents had a very hard time knowing how to FaceTime me and call me on WhatsApp. I thought I had done my job, but as soon as I moved, when they were not living with someone really young next to them, it was really hard for them to call. We had many problems until my aunt came and kind of showed them a bit more. So this is time I lost, where I could have communicated to them. So if you know you're leaving next month, dedicate some time with a computer and your grandparents to teach them, or your parents. I don't know, if your parents are maybe older and they don't know how to use FaceTime, Skype and this type of technologies, please take the time to do a whole briefing on the app, a whole briefing on the computer, to make them do it by themselves many times, and make sure that if the day after you leave you want to communicate with them, they're gonna be able to do it. Because it's really frustrating when you want to see them and they're not able to connect, they don't know how to make the internet work. Anyways, so my first advice is train the people who do not know how to use technology in the use of the basis, and make sure they know it. Make extra sure they know it. Leave notes, leave video tutorials, do everything you have to do, because it's gonna really be meaningful. I'll jump into the third advice from the first one. Invest on your internet when you arrive to a new country. Like it or not, you're gonna want to FaceTime your mom when you're walking. As soon as I saw the Eiffel Tower, I wanted to call my mom and FaceTime her. I was using a stupid SIM card. I'll tell you more about it at the end of this video. But it's really hard when you know that you have a very limited amount of internet, and that's going to limit the amount of time you can spend with the people you love. So make this a priority. So that's my first advice. So now we're ready for number 2. My number 2 thing that I wish I knew is, you know what, I'm gonna start with a question. Have you ever told yourself, when I live by myself in my own place, I'm gonna eat cereal in every meal. I'm gonna eat all the chocolate I want. No one's gonna bother me. No one's gonna force me to do anything. I'm gonna give you a bit of time to answer that in the comments. And while you're there, why don't you just subscribe and give this video a thumbs up? That would help me a lot, and I really want to see your answer in this. Okay, if you haven't done it, just pause the video and go comment whether or not you've told yourself that you're just gonna leave the life when it comes to food and you live by yourself. So this is something that I did tell myself. Not only I told myself this before I moved away, but I also did it. So I arrived to Paris, I was by myself in my apartment. Why not eat cereal every day? No. Why not eat cereal in every single meal of the day? Isn't that the dream? My mom would have never let me do this. Never. Like, she would have never let me do this. So I was just living the dream. I could live by myself, no one's gonna judge me. I'm just gonna buy a pot of milk, buy a box of cereals, put some cereal in there, put some milk, finish it. If there's too much milk, I'll add a bit of cereal. If there's too much cereal, I'll add a bit of milk. Oh, I ran out of both in just one meal. Oopsie, no one saw it, I'm not being judged. That was my go-to decision nutrition when I arrived to France. I just went all out, I ate. I was eating Nesquik in the morning with some random bread because I was in France, so baguette. And then I was eating cereal. I did this for a very long time. And then months went by, things started happening. I started seeing a lot of hair around my apartment. I'm like, that's interesting. Lots of hair. I have a lot of hair, but there was tons of hair in the floor. So I started getting stressed. I started feeling like I'm losing my hair. I started thinking that is of stress, because there's so many stress that comes to this stage of your life that I just blamed it on stress. I blamed it on absolutely everything. The water, I even thought that water that was washing my hair was completely different in France than it was in Colombia, so that was affecting my hair. Anyways, I kept on going like this. I lost a lot of hair, and then I was having other problems. I was starting to have very bad allergies, just very bad rashes, very bad allergies, and I decided to do some blood tests. I did some blood tests with a doctor that was testing my allergies, and surprise, I was iron deficient, I was vitamin C deficient, and I was vitamin D deficient. So the doctor just goes for it. What are you eating? Are you eating enough greens? So Choco-Pic and milk apparently are not the go-to foods to keep some balanced iron numbers, vitamin D numbers, and vitamin C numbers. Nor are they good for your calories, nor was I having enough protein, but I'm not gonna get into that. I'm gonna get into that into another video. Yes, so thing number 2 that I wish I knew. YOLOing your food when you're by yourself is the first thing that we all do, but it's gonna cost you a lot of fucking money and time and health. So here's the issue. This is really important that you know before you move out of your house, because it's really easy to implement good habits at the beginning of something. So at the beginning of living in a new country, at the beginning of even moving to a different apartment in the same city, it's a really good opportunity to implement new habits, because your brain is gonna be recording everything you do at the beginning. Okay, I'm gonna advise you an amazing book on this subject. I'm gonna put it here because then I'm gonna forget. It's called The Power of Habit. But basically what it says, and what I'm gonna speak about right now, is that your brain tries to save energy. So your brain is gonna try to record the pathways that you put in there for the first time you do something. So the first time you're in your new apartment, if you just decide to stop in this little boulangerie or in this little bakery house to buy some bread because you're celebrating that you just moved and you're happy and you're by yourself and everything, probability is that the next day, because you enjoy doing that the day before, you're gonna just stop to buy another croissant, and then you might do it the third day, and then you're gonna be like, it's my little French routine, so I might just do it every day, and it's gonna be part of your habits. And it's so hard to break a habit. It's much harder to break a habit than to create a good one. Before you move out, make some really good decisions when it comes to food. First time, at least the first 2 days that you're living in your apartment, buy the good things. Buy some fruit, buy some veggies, prepare some meal prep for your week. I'm gonna speak more about nutrition in another video, but just make sure that on the first 2 to 3 days, you organize yourself really well to have really balanced and good meals in your house, in your new place. If you're living with roommates, if you're living by yourself, if you're living with your partner, make sure not to arrive to your new country and buy all the typical sweets from that country and just start creating a routine that's gonna be really hard to get out of, and it's gonna end up in you having allergies, deficiencies, and I don't know what other health problems. So that's the second thing I wish I knew. I'm not killing cereals. I enjoy my cereals for dessert at some point, but do not make it a daily habit because it's easy to make, because it's cheap. Just spoiler alert, it's not cheap. Because paying your medical bills when you're getting allergies and blood tests done is really expensive. I'm not joking. It's probably one of the biggest expenses I had on my first year in Paris, and I was definitely struggling to be okay with paying such amount of money to a doctor when I could have just solved it by not eating cereal every single day. Here we are, number 3. Third thing I wish I knew before I moved out of my mom's house. This is gonna be the most important and the biggest lifesaver that you can have today, so please make sure that if you retain one of these 3 things, retain this one. My third advice is to think about the subscriptions that will save your wallet. What is this supposed to mean? The subscriptions that will save your wallet are the subscriptions that you need to use on the daily when you arrive to your new country. I'm speaking about the transport system, so in my case it was the metro tickets. I'm speaking about SIM cards, and I'm speaking about all the paperwork for the visa. The reason why you need to do these 3 researches before you arrive to the country is because they want to take advantage of people that arrive unprepared, okay? So usually people that arrive unprepared to Paris are tourists. When you arrive and you simply need to bring your bags from the airport to the place where you're gonna stay the first night, you do not have an option. You're not gonna walk 5 hours, you're gonna take the metro or a taxi, but probably the metro. What happens when you're gonna do this is that you're gonna find yourself in a position where you need to buy tickets. You're gonna buy tickets, you're gonna buy the pack of 10 tickets, which is what every tourist buys. Problem is that the pack of tickets is the most expensive thing you can do. Why? Because you're not just doing it for a week of tourism, you're moving to that country. When you arrive, you'll realize that people who are taking the transportation system with you are people who are not paying for tickets, they have a card. Their metro subscription or their bus subscription usually is one system that takes every type of public transportation into account, is the way to go. The reason why you need to make this research before is because usually this is not something you can do on the spot. When you need to get a metro card, for example, you need to send an application, usually online, and you need to send a few papers stating that you're going to be a resident in this country. It takes a bit of time, but this is something you're going to eventually do when you move to a country. So it's better that you do it before you arrive. And the reason is because you're going to spend at least 70 euros per week in Paris. Depends on the city you're going to, but it's usually really expensive because it's meant for tourists. You're going to spend at least 70 euros per week if you do not do this. Whereas if you have a card, you just pay 29 euros per month. So if you don't want to spend 70 and 70, 140 euros in the 2 weeks before you do the metro card, please do it before you arrive. SIM cards is the same story. Depends on the country, again, but in France, you need to get a tourist SIM card and charge gigas of internet on it if you don't have a plan. To get a plan, you need to already have a French bank account. Who has a French bank account before getting to France? No one does. Try to do research and try to get a bank account, at least Revolut, N26, something that you can do online, and that's going to give you a number of an account. That number is going to allow you to get a monthly plan for your phone. It can be unlimited internet for just 26 euros. Just giving you an example. That's what I was having in my monthly plan, and I had unlimited amount of internet. This is not something that I would have had with a SIM card. A SIM card is 10 euros plus 10 euros per giga. You do 2 FaceTime calls with your mom while you're cooking, that's out. All your internet's out. You won't have internet for Google Maps, you won't have internet for WhatsApp, and you're not gonna have internet to move around the city. So please don't do that. Please make sure you make your research. Last thing I'm gonna tell you in this video is the paperwork that comes with the visa when you arrive to a new country, France specifically. You need to do a medical test, and this medical test is gonna allow you to have your papers. Problem is that everybody that arrives to France and is gonna leave there needs to do this test. So it's really hard to get an appointment. So if you do the appointment and they give it to you in 1 month, you're gonna have 1 month without the papers that you're gonna need to get covered by Social Security. If you do not want to live through this, please make the appointment before you get there. You can even make it 1 month before you move to the country because you don't need to be there. The appointment, you do it online anyways. So if you do it before you get there, when you get there, you can have in the first week your appointment, and then you can apply for Social Security straight away, rather than having months when you're uncovered or you have a private coverage, which is super expensive. So that's it. Those are the 3 things I wish I knew before I moved away from home. If you like what you saw, if you think it's useful for you in any type of way, please give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe, and you'll get my next video next week. In 7 days, I promise this. I'm trying to put pressure in myself so I don't procrastinate. So next week you're gonna have the next video. And yes, bye.